In 1997, the still-fresh game developer Oddworld Inhabitants released the first game in a massive series, appropriately titled Oddworld, named for the planet on which this epic tale takes place. Abe's Oddysee puts you in the shoes of Abe, a Mudokon slave who discovers that the Gluckons that work his race plan to use them as a meat source for their next big product. Abe flees the factory and falls into a mission to save his people and take down the Gluckons' factory, Rupture Farms. Abe's Oddysee turned out to be enough of a hit that the next year, a side story, Abe's Exodus, was released to continue the story until the next official chapter would be ready. Originally, the second chapter, Munch's Oddysee, was in development for the PlayStation 2, but halfway through, the game was moved to the Xbox to be released as an exclusive launch title on November 15th, 2001. Growing up, I'd watch my friends play the Oddworld games, and while I thought they looked pretty cool, they were a bit slow for my liking. Well, thanks to our good friend Stefan, he has chosen Oddworld Munch's Oddysee this month, so let's see if the trek from 2D to 3D makes this Oddworld adventure worthy of your big green collection. Taking place after Exodus, the Gluckons have been harvesting a frog-like species known as gabbits for their eggs to make a caviar dish called gabiar, and they use their lungs for transplants due to their overabundance in smoking. While searching for others like him, Munch, the last known surviving gabbit, is captured by the Vikers and taken to their lab so they can harvest his lungs for the Gluckon Queen. Around the same time, Abe is told by the almighty Raisin that he must save Munch as he is integral to saving Oddworld. Once they meet up, Abe and Munch work together to take down the Vikers. Even though I hadn't played the first two games, though there is a generous video you can watch on here to bring you up to speed, the story of Munch's Oddysee was very good, more due in part to the writing of the characters. There's a great balance of humor and drama here, with one-liners and fart jokes sprinkled about, but at the same time, you're rooting for Munch and Abe to save their friends. Plus, any game that has fuzzy balls of cute death gets a plus in my book, but I'll get to those later. Jumping to the third dimension has given the gameplay in this Oddworld adventure a bit of an overhaul, whereas originally the previous games had more of a Prince of Persia or even a flashback feel to it. Munch's Oddysee goes more into the Mario 64 area of platformers, though the goals are the same here. You still progress from stage to stage, jumping and avoiding obstacles while saving your friends from the vile creatures that roam about. At first, you'll play as Abe and Munch separately in order to get a feel for their abilities. Abe retains his possession ability from the previous games, allowing him to take control of nearby enemies in order to do specific tasks. This takes the use of spruce, a green plant-like material that's grown on spruce shrubs. Collecting spruce also opens doors as well, and allows you to resurrect fallen Mudokons and give them new abilities. Plus, Abe can chant near an empty spruce shrub and it will regrow, in case you need spruce in a pinch. Abe can also pick up objects and people and throw them to other areas, and has access to special powers via vending machines like super speed, high jumps, and refilling health, through product placement. At least they admit it. Munch, on the other hand, has some different tricks up his sleeve. Thanks to the sonar that the Vikers attach to his head, he can operate different machines, like cranes for instance, use zap attacks thanks to the vending machines he can access, and swim in water since Abe can't. He can also come across a wheelchair to help him get around faster. Once they meet up, you'll have to switch between the two and use their abilities in tandem in order to progress. Well, that and the aid of your imprisoned friends. With Abe, he can save his fellow Mudokons and use their help to open doors and attack enemies, while Munch enlists the help of the Fuzzles, those cute little death balls I mentioned earlier. To give them commands, you'll use the series-patented GameSpeak, with the face buttons assigned to give different commands like wait, follow, and attack, to name a few.
Hello. You better stay here. Get 'em. Everybody. Hello.
How you doing? Oh, you better stay here. You help me out here? Jump 'em. Jump 'em.
Just like Abe's last two adventures, saving the Mudokons and the Fuzzles is important to the story, as rescuing them boosts your Kwarma, which determines which ending you get. Plus, come on. Who wouldn't want to rescue the Fuzzles? I, for one, would love my own army of cuddly balls of floof and teeth. Overall, the gameplay is actually really damn good. Controlling both Abe and Munch is fun and responsive, though I noticed that moving Abe is a bit more slippery and can cause you to get hit by obstacles when you don't mean to. Thankfully, you can resurrect your partner at a resurrection egg, which is near the totem thing that, saves the Modokans. I have to say, 3D Oddworld is a lot of fun, and quite impressive for a launch title for the Big Green. The only gripe I had with the game is that it feels like it goes on longer than it should, but not necessarily because there's over 20 levels. Well, yeah, that's part of it, but really it's more because of said controls. Even though I said they were decent, this is coming from a series that was primarily 2D, and it feels as if though the visuals and the gameplay went to the third dimension, the controls are still stuck in the past. The best example I can give is Abe again. When it comes to making precise jumps, it's very difficult to pull off playing as Abe, again due to that slipperiness I talked about. When it comes to jumping, most 3D platformers allow you to perform a small jump with the tap of a button, and a longer jump if you press and hold it down. Here, jump is jump, regardless of how you press the button, and it's because of that and Abe's zippy, slippery movements that make platforming a pain in the ass, causing the game to feel longer due to the numerous attempts you'll be making. Hell, his possession orb has better jumping control mechanics than he does. Regardless of this, though, I still like the gameplay. I just preferred playing as Munch a little bit more. One thing that is impressive about Munch's Oddysee is the visuals, as they're quite stunning for their age. The environments for each area are nicely varied, from the green forests to the dark, murky, and cold sections of Viker Labs and beyond. Meanwhile, the characters are, as always, wonderfully weird. I've already mentioned how cute the Fuzzles are, but Munch is also well designed, and Abe and the rest of the odd characters look just as good. But the cherry on top of the presentation sundae is the audio. The music, while not played all the time, is a great mix of ambient sounds, tribal beats, and techno tunes that totally fits the setting of Oddworld. Meanwhile, the voice acting is some of the funniest writing I've heard in a while, with voices that fit their characters well, with Lorne Lanning, one of the co-founders of Oddworld Inhabitants, not only returning to voice Abe, but also providing the voice of Munch as well, pulling off a very good double performance. Granted, sometimes you're going to hear the same lines over and over, and that might get on your nerves after a while. Kind of like Ninja Turtles.
Help, Munch, I'm taking a beating out here. Help, Munch, I'm taking a beating out here. Help, Munch, I'm taking a beating out. Help, Munch, I'm taking a
It's safe to say that with Munch's Oddysee, the Oddworld team made the transition to 3D well enough, crafting a nice platformer with a great story, hilarious dialogue, and fun gameplay that anyone can jump into, even with that slippery platforming when it comes to Abe. The main question, though, is Munch's Oddysee collection worthy for your Big Green? Well, yeah, most definitely. Though there are other options if you'd rather play it on more modern devices. Like I wrote in the beginning of the card, Munch's Oddysee was ported to a few consoles like the PlayStation 3, PlayStation Vita, and Switch, as well as on PC. You can even play this on your phone if you want. Though I also want to briefly mention the Game Boy Advance version that was made, as even though it was a top-down platformer, it still is the same game in terms of story. Now, I don't know, I find these GBA ports of console games neat for some reason. Needless to say, the Oddworld saga was far from over, as the next game, Stranger's Wrath, would come out a few years later, but we're going to have to save that for another time. Until then, I'd like to thank Stefan for his game choice. It was pretty good. And as always, this is the Dali Popka saying, stay green, my friends. I'll see you next time. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this episode and want more of me and the Big Green, then click that subscribe button and the bell to get notified when new content arrives. I want to say a special thank you to my patrons for helping not just the channel grow, but me as a creator. You have my forever thanks. If you're interested in the channel and would like to help it grow further, consider becoming a patron today. For the cost of a soda or an item on the dollar menu, you can help myself and the channel provide the best source of Big Green programming and more. Once again, all the thanks and love.